like what's the experience like, between casting people who have little to no experience and then, casting actors like Willem Dafoe? Like what's that like?
Well, obviously, in most Sean's films, we use a lot of, we say first timers, a lot of non-professional actors. So, like in that sense, with the perfection actor like Willem Dafoe, obviously we have to approach the agency. We have to, like go through the agency, go to the manager, and it's a very formal process, right? So, and then casting like non-professional actors, we usually found them on the street. We did all the street casting ourselves. We'll be going to a supermarket, going to local stores, local bars, and invite the local people to act in the film. So in that sense, it's a very different process.
Yeah, so with the like with the kids in the film, like I'm guessing most of those were like, first time actors.
Yes. Only Brooklyn Prince, the one who played Mooney, she is, I would say she's like she did some commercials before this, and she also did some print ads. And her mother is a professional acting coach. So she was already in like kind of in that world already. But other actors, Valeria, she's the redhead Jancy. She was found by Sean when he was shopping in Target at night. So that was a local, from the local. And then also the boy, we actually found him in one of those budget hotel.
Oh, so he was already
Yes.
like basically living a life similar to the characters of the script.
Yes, we did 3 rounds of local casting. We asked this local agency help us to cast the kids from the motel. So they went out, they have some relationship with the family, so they put out the post and say bring your kid to audition. So we actually did couple rounds, 3 rounds in the local motels.
How many? Just curious, like how many kids do you think you like had to go through to like kind of find the right one?
Well, I would say probably up to like 60, maybe 80 people. Like some of them came through like LA. So we had like online casting. So we have the online audition on top of the local audition.
Yeah, so like a whole lot of effort, just to find the right characters in the film, and it's like the way the film looks right is so important, and all of it's important, and the acting and stuff. Like like for me, the way the way the film looks, the cinematography and the dialogue of the actors really drew me in from the beginning. Like, what drew you in, as a producer and a filmmaker, like into the project?
Mm-hmm. Well, with working with Sean, I have been working with him since 2003. So a lot of time he will just call me out and say, "Hey, I have this idea, and what do you think? How can we make this? Is it possible we do this, this way or that way?" So I usually come in the very early process, like almost in the very beginning, like an ideal very creative process, like very beginning. So that's how I usually work in his project. So, he will call, for example, we went down to Florida to did this location research back in 2013 before we even got funding. So, a lot of time we started working together at the very beginning of the process.
Yeah, it sounds like so. You guys, you're right there, like right when right when the nucleus of the filmmaking is making the world building, so to speak, of the film. And yeah, so with you've worked on so many different Sean Baker films, three in particular, and so has like that relationship between you and Sean, like how has it like evolved over the years? Like has it been easier to see like his creative vision over the years, or have you guys had more like holdups between each other about like, you know, just the overall outlook of the film?
Well, a lot of the time because I usually come in at the very beginning, so I kind of in a way I help him build the world together, right? So for example, the Florida project, we're trying to build this world. We're trying to show this hidden homeless world to the audience. So like in a way I knew where he came from. I knew where the original idea came from. So for me, I think it's easier to, you know, helping and also build a world. And like obviously it's really really hard because we always work at the working location, right? All the motels were running. We went in there for like maybe 2 hours and we get everything done. So that was, you know, just trying to helping create a world and make impossible things possible. So
Yeah, and
for
and
me it's
and
easy to understand. Yes.
yeah, and through I'm guessing like through being there through such an early process, that's probably like, you know, probably helps you with the casting a little bit, because you probably know exactly like how Sean Baker is constructing in his mind, so to speak, the what's going to show up on film.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you know, we dive into the research, right? So we went there, we talked to those people, we got to know them. So when I cast people for the role, I know exactly what kind of people we're looking for. I know exactly the look, I know exactly the temperament. So that definitely is part of the, you know, casting work.
Yeah. So what about like with in terms of more of like the like logistics of filmmaking? Like, how did you guys find like the funding for this story? You know, this film, because it's like such a unique story. So how did you guys go about that?
Usually, Sean is very, I guess I would say he's very lucky because, like, as far as I know, like how the filmmakers get funding, like he always have investor come to him. You know, they will be watching his film and they really love it, so they will come to him directly, say, "Hey, I have, I have this, I have some money. I want to make a movie with you." So a lot of time that happens like that.
So they'll come to him. Has that been the case even before like Tangerine, like with Takeout and stuff? Would you
Well,
say?
Takeout is very different case because that was the first film we ever made together. We co-directed, co-produced it, and that one we only spent $4,000. So we didn't really need to, you know, go ask for favor, but we did like rented a camera from a friend, and we also did a post production. Get a post production favor from another friend. So you know, that's a very different story. $4,000, so that's all our money. And like with Tangerine, the investor was from Duplass Brothers. They saw Sean's film, Prince of Broadway, and they really loved it. So they came to him. They said, "Well, if you want to make a movie, you know, with a certain amount of budget, we can help you. You know, we're going to want to help you make a movie." So that was a, you know, similar case.
Yeah. Well, that sounds, you know, his quality of work is, and just his whole filmmaking crew, the quality of work is so good that it's not hard to see it's not hard to see that he has a lot of backing in that regard. So, but what would you say, like, so maybe another like logistical question for this film in particular, like what was either like an obstacle that, like, you know, might have been an isolated thing, but like what was like overall the biggest challenge of making this film?
Well, I will have to say just in fact we are in a union film, and so we had to hire union crew, And that was like a very different compared to all the previous films, because on the Florida project, we probably have maybe like 60 people in crew, like, plus the people in the back office. So that was a very different, like Tangerine, we had probably 6 people crew. And jump to Florida project, we have like 60 people crew. So I think that was like a big adjustment that everybody needs to come to the middle. And because to conduct a big crew is very different. You will have to everything schedule, accordingly, and you can really make a lot of changes. But the way Sean makes film, he changed script along the way when he making it. So that kind of drove the crew crazy a little bit in the beginning, because the union crew, they didn't understand this. They just go in there, they follow the script, they follow the schedule, and everything is just on the schedule. But so when we had that kind of change, and that was quite adjustment. So we had to work on that a little bit in the beginning.
So was the again, the film's so unique. Like, what was the like research process like? Because it feels like a lot of, like the dialogue is just like so detailed. Everything's so detailed in the film, and very colorful. Like, what was just the overall research on the film like before you guys even started shooting, and like pre-production?
Well, I actually went down with Florida with Sean first. So 2 of us was there before, I would say 3 months before the principal production days. So we started shooting in July, and we were down there in May before that, right? So we're down there, and we checked into the hotel nearby, and then we went in there to interview people. So we see people on the street, we'll talk to them, and basically just ask everybody stories. And we are very lucky, we got like so many people shared their stories with us, especially when we ran into one of the managers. His name is John Manny, and he shared his life stories with us. He already retired when we met him, and he, when we ran into him, he said, well, I was one of the managers here for like 20 years or something. So he basically share all his life stories with us. So that's why we got so many like real like details of different families, how they went through life there, what kind of difficulties they went through, and living in a motel. So all the wonderful stories we got from the local people.
Yeah, and I think it's was there a concerted effort to like, I'm assuming there was, but like, what was the ideology behind, having them be, not in like a low income apartment complex, and, they're in like a motel instead? Like, could you go into that a little bit?
Well, that's just the situation we saw, all around.
Okay.
So we are not trying to make anything up. We just kind of portray the way how they are. Those people live, they really live there. Even the place we shot, Magic Castle, there are people like residents living there when we're shooting there. So we actually cast a lot of them as our extras. You see them in the film.
And like, you had so many roles in Tangerine, and what was it a similar experience with this, the Florida project, in terms of like responsibilities, or like what would you like compare and contrast there?
You mean like the difference between the 2 films?
Yeah, like Vanessa had a question. On the set of Tangerine, you took on a lot of different jobs. Was it similar was it a similar experience with the Florida project? And what did your role as producer entail for this project, the Florida project? I'm guessing more.
Well, in Tangerine, because it was such a small budget, and we were kind of forced to wear so many hats. So that's why I was doing like all the different things on set. But in the Florida project, well, I think I took on a similar role, but it's just I think it's during a different time. For example, like when we went in there to do a research. I kind of like jot down all the detail of the world we want to portray. So then when we were in the shooting period, I kind of like during the casting and during like different part of, like, for example, we need to update the script. So, he always asks us like, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think this person will say? So a lot of time we will just go out and do more research. So for example, that perfume scene, right? Like she's selling perfume. And that idea was coming from, we had a conversation with one of the residents. And then we asked her like, oh, how do you, make your money like mainly? So she told us she did that. She went out to sell the perfume. That's how she make her living. So I think like you see how you compare that, it's just very similar, but obviously with a bigger budget, you have more crew under you and do a lot of work for you. And so I didn't need to jump into the set and do the thing like what I did in Tangerine.
Yeah. And, it's just overall like a bigger undertaking. And, like you've mentioned before, you guys, spent a lot of time just talking to people who lived in the area and,
Yep.
and research, and so like, was there a specific reason that, you guys or Sean in general, like, was there like a specific reason why you guys wanted to undertake this, like, very salient problem of like poverty and homelessness?
Well, a lot of time I think, I will have to speak for Sean because this, his idea behind this. So every time he wants to make a movie, it's a lot of times because he think those people are underrepresented, right? So it's a big issue. There's a really big issue of this hidden homeless all over the country, even in, other countries. But we don't see a lot of film. We don't see a lot of like mention on them. So a lot of times because he wants to see more of that. He wants to raise the awareness. He wants people to see the problem like what he sees.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like, because it was so successful, like, do you think, like in your own opinion, would you say the film was successful in like raising that overall like awareness of homelessness? Because I think personally I do, and I think it's interesting because unless you like start to have some of these experiences, sometimes you think of just like the homeless people on the street, and there's still another large portion of people that are living in cars or like in the film, they're living in motels. And so just your own perspective on the success of that awareness.
I definitely think I think the film definitely brought out the awareness, at least to the audience who saw it, because people talk about the film. People like review the film. People really discuss the film. They discuss like, is Haley a good mother, or they should take her kid, right? So something like that create a lot of talk, a lot of conversation, and I think in that way, I think this film definitely made the difference.
Yeah, and I think what was important is it's almost like a balancing act. It's like, you know, the mom and the daughter, they're not exactly the most likable people in the film, and like me personally, like I think you really start to feel for like her former friend in the film and Willem Dafoe's character. Like you get kind of like an idea of their lives, and they just seem like possibly like people who have a higher moral compass than the two main characters in the film. And so was that ever like a concern or anything that like, or yeah, was that ever like a concern about maybe like the audience maybe wouldn't like take to the primary characters of the film, or like what was that process like?
Well, I don't think just because the way, what happened in the film and what happened like in the end, I don't think the film is trying to, it leaves a lot of space for the audience to think, right? So obviously a lot of people don't like the film. That the really funny thing is when the film was showing in Asian countries, I can see the audience came out. They were like, "This is terrible. How the kids are swearing, what that's so wrong. The mother wasn't educating the kids." So I think a lot of people they put their own uh, moral, like their own rule
Mm.
into the film, and then they are really judgmental of the character. But also I see a lot of people, especially I think a lot of mothers, they feel it, right? So a lot of people really have the empathy for the characters.
Yeah, I think my empathy kind of switched throughout the film in terms of the mother-daughter relationship. Like, I think I was a little bit in the beginning more empathetic towards the mother, because the film starts, kind of with them like, spitting on the car. I don't think that's not the first scene, but it's one of the first scenes.
Yeah.
And it seems kind of like, not necessarily like the 6-year-old exactly like, becomes an entirely different person, but like I feel like, you have like more perspective on her life, and just, I feel like me personally, that's how I felt, is like there was like a very interesting switch of the tables in terms of empathy with those two characters in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got a couple more questions, and before we turn it over to the audience. And so what we wanted to also discuss is just like, could you walk us through a little bit about just like the usual, day-to-day shooting for a film,
Okay.
for this film in particular?
For the Florida project,
Mm-hmm.
I had to be honest, I don't really remember everything now because it has been a while. But
Yeah, or just in general, like, just in like a general sense.
well, I remember we were living, with the old crew and cast. We lived like nearby in like a community area. So like every day, it was just driving to set for 10 minutes, and then a lot of time I was doing casting too. So a lot of time we'll have to like go out and talk to people, and also like a lot of weather issue in Florida because it always like thunderstorm in the afternoon. So every time it ran, we'll have to switch, like find a cover set. So that was like a lot of time that happened. And yeah, it was very, very hot in Florida in August. So other than going out to the shoot, I think most of the time we just, stay inside. But it was a very, very, I wouldn't say non-stressful shoot, but compared to one I just work on, it was not as stressful as the one, the Red Rocket, for sure.
Are you guys done shooting that film?
Yeah, we done shooting end of October. We wrap.
No, that's very cool. I mean, just with me, I just got done shooting a short film, and nothing compared to that. But still definitely, with the stress and stuff, it definitely feels at least to be done with the shooting part of it. I bet.
Oh yeah, definitely. With the COVID-19 and all the testing, we had a test like twice a week, and every time just like time consuming, and you have to wait, and then always nervous to hear the result. So it's really, and we use a lot of local extras too. So we had to, yeah, we street cast them, and we had to, they all had to do rapid tests. So that was like really stressful.
So yeah, I'm guessing like in the past, gosh, since March basically. So was that like the past like 8 months, basically the better part of a year, like your work has been, as much as everybody else has pretty much just been drastically affected. But
Yes.
specifically with film, you know, because it's like very prudent to have people on set with you so you can shoot and go over things.
Yeah, definitely.
So it sounds like it's been pretty difficult.
It was difficult. Yeah.
Have things been getting better in that respect? Just like, it sounds like you guys, like, things, the industry's really like circled the wagons, so to speak, with the
I think some productions are back. You know, I have some friends who are like who are shooting now. Like some people working on TV and some work on, and I think most of our crew have a following job after we wrap. So that's a good thing. You know, I think people start shooting in production again.
Yeah, and I think we can start opening it up to audience questions if anybody.
I can take care of that. So we've got a lot of submissions for questions, and there was a question about we're like, obviously at the end, the last shot is of them going into Disney World, and so what were the legal challenges of that from a producer standpoint? Like yeah, just if you wanted to speak on that topic, and I feel like a lot of people are interested to know.
Well, we decided to shoot on iPhone. Part of the reason is it's impossible to get permit at Disney, you know, because not just Disney, like whenever you want to shoot at the corporate, it's like a big company, like a corporate company, then you will have to go through like tons, you know, legal, they review your script, they have to see everything, and they have to see the final cut. It's just really, really, like, it's not possible to do that. So that's part of the reason we did, you know, we use iPhone. So and after the film came out, I think Disney heard about our film, and they obviously didn't come after us because they were really, I think they liked the film and they were happy about the film. So we are very lucky that we didn't get in any trouble with that.
As a producer, like obviously like if they didn't like it, was that ever like a worry? Like did that stress you?
Yeah, definitely. We consult our lawyers, obviously, like many different lawyers, and discuss this. So yeah, that's definitely one of the stressful thing for that budget.
Gotcha. Well, I know you are also coming from like a director background, and you also direct your own films and your own projects and stuff. How has the experience of like also being a producer helped you, and for this project and working on Tangerine and Floor project, how's that influenced your own filmmaking? If you want to speak a little bit to that.
Well, I'm actually preparing my first solo directorial movie right now. So I think being a producer definitely helped, you know, because you have to understand the business side of the filmmaking other than just making a film. And I have to say, like, getting funding is probably one of the most difficult things for, you know, on filmmaking. So that being a producer definitely helped me on that perspective.
For sure. We have questions from, there's a question from Hannah. I don't know if you want to ask yourself or if you want me to ask for you. Yeah, there you are.
Hi, Shih-Ching. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thank you.
So I had a question about, you mentioned that last sequence in the Florida project was shot on the iPhone. And I know Tangerine obviously is very famous for having been shot on the iPhone, but then also I think a lot of the Florida project was shot on 35 millimeter as well. So it's just, I mean, I work in a film archive. I'm really interested in, you know, the tangible aspects of filmmaking. So I'm just curious about how the kind of logistics for dealing with these different types of, you know, film stock versus digital, how that affected the filmmaking process.
Okay. Well, working on film, definitely it's, you know, it's more process, more expensive. And because you had to develop the film, and you had to digitize the film, you had to, you know, do all the different process. And versus if you shoot on digital iPhone or any digital camera, like all the footage is on the drive, right? So it just have so much less to deal with, and on that perspective, it's cheaper and it's just quicker. But I will have to say, like, if you shoot on a 35 millimeter or 16, you will be more aware what you're shooting every day. And I think that's one of the benefits to shoot on film, because you will be more careful and you wouldn't waste too much time or money to like shoot one scene over and over again. You're trying to rehearse it and make sure that's what you want, and try to lower your cost. So on that perspective, I would say, that's probably a better way, because when you shoot on digital, you have like tons and tons of footage, and you'll have to look through it, and you have to, edit it down. So in that sense, you also waste money and, resources on that.
And just a quick follow-up, is there also kind of aesthetic reasons, especially in working with Sean Baker, in terms of, the decisions behind using film versus digital? Is there something that maybe that both of you think it adds, working with film as opposed to digital, or is it now so similar in terms of quality that, there's not much of a difference in your opinion?
Well, I will have to say, the reason we shot Tangerine on iPhone was the budget reason. We didn't have that much budget, so we just, at the time, Sean didn't want to shoot it. He's like, I want to shoot on film. I don't want to do a film. I don't want to shoot on video. So I told him, well, I think that's just the medium. You have to have a good story, and the important thing is to tell the story. And film or iPhone or any other digital camera, they are just the medium to help you achieve the story. So a lot of reason is because like Tangerine was on the budget, and then on Florida project, he always wants to shoot on film, and on top of that, that's the look he's looking for. He wants to have that very saturated, very beautiful image. And it's like children they have clear vision. They see things probably more colorful than us. So that's the reason he wanted to shoot on 35.
Yeah, thank you. No, that makes total sense. And I think it's so perfect because you get that almost Technicolor vibrancy, in the Florida project, which is works so well with the narrative itself. So thank you so much for addressing those questions.
Thank you.
Moving down along the Q&A list. So a question about like that rainbow shot and there's a story behind it where it was a big question between like, is it going to be VFX? And so what was like the story? Because I heard the crew had to like pick up move the location just to get this rainbow shot. So as a producer, did that have any ramifications for like how the day went? Did you guys end up having to go over at all? Like, yeah, if you want to speak a little to that.
Well, that was I remember that day. Actually, it was pretty amazing. We're just standing in the parking lot of Magic Castle, and because it was raining, so we were like waiting for the rain to stop. So we're just kind of standing there, and we turned around and we saw the rainbow. So we're like, okay, we will have to get this rainbow so we can save $20,000 later, right? Because if you do that in After Effects, in the special effect, it might cost you $20,000 to look so perfect and real. So I think the camera was up in one of the room, and then we like call everybody down, everybody run down and reposition the camera and like get the kids ready. And we were so lucky we got a shot, and that was like amazing. That was like one of the happy accidents in filmmaking.
And so it didn't throw you guys off schedule at all? Like it was just...
No, not at all. Actually saved us $20,000.
Yeah, right. That's an amazing story. Along the lines of that, so there's a question about like the fire scene with like the house. Did that take a big punch in the budget at all, or what was the process of getting that executed?
Well, that one, Sean, I remember Sean wasn't very happy about that because he wanted the house real on real fire, like the whole thing on fire. But then we obviously couldn't do that because that was a condo that was abandoned for a long time. So we found the owner of the site, and we talked to them about like putting on fire and stuff like that. But I think in the end, it's some logistic problem. We couldn't really do it. So he was really upset. But I think they look great. Like the final result would look pretty good.
Cool. So we have a question. This is from Evie. If you could remake the film again with a bigger budget, do you think there's anything that you would do in addition or differently, or add to any aspect of the production and give them more money for it?
Well, we always want more shooting days. So I think in that sense, yes, we have more budget. We'll probably make it a 40, even 50-day shoot instead of, I think we had a maybe 35-day shoot. Yeah.
Did you, yeah, because of the budget, did you have to compromise on scenes? Like, were there scenes that had to get cut because of the time restriction in the budget?
There was a car accident scene that we didn't do. So I think that's part of the reason we couldn't do it, because you will have to, also the permit issue. So you had to get permit for everything. And I think that was part of the reason we couldn't do that car accident scene. So we cut it out.
For sure. This question is from Myron. She's asking about the children's like scenes where there's obviously like improvisation and stuff that's scripted and stuff that just kind of happens on set and what Sean like gets out of them. So was a lot of it more improvised? Like did that kind of affect the shooting like time at all? Like did it take longer to do that? Or yeah, if you want to speak a little bit to that.
Well, I would say most of the dialogue was scripted, because they are young kids. Like you can't really expect them to improvise a lot. Although Sean did let Brooklyn improvise, and then she did a great job. I think that was the scene that made into the trailer when Bobby told them to get out of the room to eat ice cream, and then in the end, I think Willen say, "Thank you very much." And then Brooklyn say, "You are not welcome." Something like that. Yeah, so that was like improvised. But most of the part was scripted because you can't really have them improvise. And on top of that, if you do more than 3 takes, kids got tired so fast. And especially outside in this like very sunny day, very hot, like every 10, 15 minutes, we'll have to run them back to the air conditioning part. So that was another thing. Like we can't really do too many takes with them.
And because you are working with children, like there's a certain amount of time that you have with them too. And exactly. So yeah. And yeah. Was that hard to work around? Being that they can only show.
Yeah, definitely. We'll always have to watch the clock. I think Valeria at the time, she was only 5. So instead of working 8 hours, then you can only work like 6 hours with her, something like that, or 5 hours. So that was really stressful. We always have to like try to have her shoot her scene first, so we don't lose the day with her.
Sure. Someone's asking if you remember what point the car crash scene was supposed to happen. They're wondering about that.
I think it was near, maybe near when the guy stopped them, and then was that a part? I don't even remember where that was, but there was a scene that I think it was completely cut. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that would have.
I can't remember where that was.
Yeah. It probably would have taken a lot more costs as well, depending on how much is shown,
Yeah.
Yeah. So Willem Dafoe is casting Willem Dafoe. Like, how for you as a producer, how was that process like, and like securing him as a main role or one of the major roles in this film, and how was that search? Getting him to be a part of this.
Well, I think he actually expressed interest working with Sean. So that's how they got everything started. And then Sean probably got his a number, and then have a talk with him. And then I think they had a meeting in New York when William was in New York. So after the meeting, and William took the role. So I think it's very kind of like a private conversation between him and Sean, because they both like love each other's work. So that was not too stressful, actually.
Yeah. So moving on to like what happens for the life of this film, the promotion and the marketing for it. What were there any major struggles with that, and how did you approach them?
You mean during the like marketing, like after the film was made?
Distribution, all that fun stuff, like after the film shot.
I think everything was really good, because A24 is such a wonderful company. They have all the best people there to help us do all the promotion or the marketing. So I don't remember there's anything that was really difficult. Yeah.
Gotcha. There's a question from Hannah as well. I don't know if you want to ask it again. But I can, yeah.
Yeah, I can ask. So thank you again. I was just here, but thank you again for being here. So I know we have a lot of film students here from UCSB and probably other universities as well. And I know you came to New York to do your master's degree, I believe, in film. And I guess I'm just curious about how your academic experience translated into working within the industry, and if you have any advice for current film students that are looking to get a career in Hollywood or in filmmaking, in another country.
I study media studies in the New School, so I wasn't really studying film for that, in that sense. But I did do like video production and web design and all different, like in different prospect of production training. So for me, it's really like when we started making film, when we make takeout together, we just two of us. So we had to shoot. We had to shoot the film. We had to, do this. We had to do the sound. We had to like do everything ourselves. So I think that was like a very interesting experience, and also like a big learning experience for us, because that's how we started. Takeout. We did like tons of location research. We basically lived in this restaurant for like 2 months to kind of research and talk to people, get to know their lives, know their stories. So I would say like all the filmmaking, especially making this type of film, we definitely started from takeout, like learn all the experience from that. And a lot of time, I think especially for young students, right? So you're still in school and you're still learning all different like practical skills, like editing. You are learning how to shoot, you're learning how to use like different software, or maybe you're learning how to do web design. It will all come back to the end. You are going to use all your skill to do it, especially when you have no budget, you don't have any resources. You have to kind of do yourself on your own, do everything on your own. So that's how we started. And I think that's a very important thing to kind of learn, especially when you have time right now, like everybody's at home, right? You can't really go out anywhere. So like definitely learn your craft, learn like practical things that's going to help you get job and get more experiences and make money at the same time.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's also really important, especially for independent filmmaking, because it sounds like that's translated into your, actual work in Hollywood in terms of you taking up all these different positions, it seems like on every set. And so I'm sure that experience as a student really helped foster what you're able to do now, or help facilitate that and that bouncing between positions.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We have another question about specifically your role in festival distribution specifically, and what that process is like.
Well, film festival, we usually have, like, especially right now, we have our sales agency, to take care of a lot of that. So a lot of time we just have to provide like all the material. For example, like we have behind the scene footages or photos or any kind of paperwork we have to kind of submit and like help the sales agency to kind of submit all the material.
Was
Like,
there I'm sorry, keep going.
yeah, we used to have to take care of everything. We have to submit to film festivals and do all the work, but now it's a little bit different because we kind of somebody is helping us do after we finish the film. We got a lot of help on that.
Did you have any was there any kind of strategy that you guys had for like the film festivals? Because I know some movies they have specific, like, we're gonna hit this festival and then we're gonna go to this next one. Like, was there any specific strategy associated with that for the Florida project?
Well, I think for that project, it was for a long time, like we really want to go to Cannes. So that was one of the important things that we ended at Cannes. So we have to try to get all the deadlines straight and know where you want to go first. And especially film festival, you have to go from the top, right? You have to start it from like the top and then coming down. Like we didn't know that until in takeout we made so many mistakes because we didn't know you have to go to like international. You have to come down because once you premiere here, you cannot premiere at the bigger film festival because a lot of film festivals ask for premiere. So like that was like along the way we learned all this.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question just to, you're talking about Takeout and Tangerine, the low budget aspect of it. Do you you kind of hear this in like the film noir, in our film noir class, like sometimes the low budget actually kind of invited some more of the creative aspects of a film to come out. Like, do you think in a way like Tangerine and Takeout would be, and also the Florida project, like if it had like just like a really high budget, do you think you guys would have actually maybe lost something in the creative filmmaking?
You mean in Florida project we lost something there?
No, like do you think because you guys were working with small to moderate film budgets, did that ever invite creativeness that maybe would not have come out on a bigger budget film?
See, that's very interesting because a lot of time we have so many happy incidents, right? So something happened that you didn't expect, but it actually turned out better than we planned. So I think a lot of time budget just a limit. Yeah, you need money to do a lot of things, but with very small budget also make you very creative. You can you just think how to achieve this when you have nothing or very little. So it I think it's you can be creative. A lot of things could be created without a lot of money. So I think in that sense I don't think small budget is less than compared to the bigger budget film. Well, obviously, we're talking about a car crash, that's a different story because you definitely need a lot of money for that. But a lot of things you can create a different way. You can create it without the big budget. You still can have the same effect, but you think from a different angle or look through a different angle.
Yeah, and so what did you, when you finally saw the final cut of the Florida project and also Tangerine, what did you think when you saw it? Was it what you envisioned in your mind, or was it better than you expected?
Well, I say Tangerine is something it was really crazy. When I saw Tangerine at the first, it was it it really blew my mind because I wasn't expecting that. And I think on that film, Sean edited for 7 months. He was in this really crazy place. He couldn't figure it out. So he turned to like listening to music, and the music actually helped him create Tangerine because, the music he was putting into the film, and it was just really amazing. So Tangerine definitely is something very different, something you've never seen before.
So there's a question about from going from Tangerine to the Florida project. Was there anything that you thought that, from a producing standpoint specifically, any lessons that you might have learned from doing Florida project or from Tangerine that you brought into the Florida project? Like, is there anything that like creatively you had to put together in order to make the Florida project happen with the budget that you had?
I feel like this, because those two films are so different. One is just, you're just always moving. One is all like like really pretty much like on stick or like pan. Like it's very different. It's very different, and also a very different environment.
Right.
I feel like, especially like when we do different films, we are like we're looking at different worlds. So every time I'm learning something completely different, even filmmaking perspective.
For sure. I'm going through the list.
Do you think, even though Tangerine and the Florida Project, they're such different films, do you think there's like, a lot of people like both of those films? Do you think that's just like a causal connection, or do you think there's like something that kind of connects both of those films together?
Well, I think both films are so, it's all about humanity, like I think the Tangerine is about friends, about family, like, and then in the Florida project, it's also about friends and families, right? So I think that's a very universal thing that connect these two films together. And I would say like all Sean's films, because like Takeout is about friends, and the Prince of Broadway is about family, right? The kid was the father, and then Starlet is also about friends and family. So I think they are all those universal things.
Okay. There's a question. What was the process like hiring and bringing on key crew members like the cinematographer and positions like that? Can you talk about a little bit about like kind of that search and what role you had in that?
Well, especially DPs usually like who Sean like really wants to work with. So that wasn't the hard part, because Sean always know like who is great, who is going to be great to create this kind of image, and who he really wants to work with, and we just go from there. So, and usually they will have like Alex is such a great DP, and he's so chill, and then in that sense that kind of help us to bring the set really like calm and really chill, like people are not stressed out. And I think that's like a great combination. And then Sean has a really good good luck on those. We always get the best crew, and also the DP will bring in his own people. The first AC, the second AC, and the grips. Like the latest film we work on is the same thing. Sean wanted to work with this DP for so long, and then he brought on his team. So usually that's how it forms the team.
Amazing. Someone's asked, do you have any tips for being more efficient at fundraising? And any advice you have on that for like student filmmakers, because that is such a big obstacle to get through, especially at this level for us. So if you have any advice for that.
I think there are perhaps a lot of grants out there right now. You can probably apply, or there are a lot of online platforms. Like I think Filmic Pro, that's the app we use to shoot, Tangerine. And they have this channel, which is great. They have this like iPhone film festival. So you can submit your film and they have prize, and you can, get like people to watch your film. So I think there are so many online platforms you can look for right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we have time for one last question, and I think it's going to be this. So what advice do you have for aspiring producers and how they can best support the project and the director making the best product possible?
Well, I think the first, you have to love the project you want to work on, like you cannot be like half-hearted. And for myself, like I only work on project that I really, really want, I really, really interested. Like, for example, I work on Sean's film. Every film I'm learning different worlds that I would never have chance to even, get into if I was not working on a film. So definitely work on the project that you're passionate about, because only with the passion you'll be able to do a great job.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time. We really appreciate you coming out and spreading your knowledge and wisdom on this craft and this amazing film.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.